Good morning, I'm Maiki Oreta, and you're watching Business 360, where we break down the numbers, connect the dots, and give you the developments and the insights you need to navigate, adapt, and lead. Let's dive right in. The Philippine Peso weakens further, hitting a new record low of 59.13 to the US dollar. Manufacturers agreed to keep prices of basic goods steady through the year end. And the U.S. government shutdown nears the one-month mark with no breakthrough in sight. First, let's take a look at how global financial markets performed overnight. U.S. stocks set fresh records overnight, driven by tech optimism and by strong earnings momentum. All three major indexes closed at new highs Tuesday as NVIDIA shares surged on news it will build artificial intelligence supercomputers for the U.S. Energy Department, with investors turning bullish ahead of big tech earnings later this week.
This is driven by earnings. We've got 3 quarters in a row of double-digit earnings. And by the way, the first 150 companies that have reported, 82% of them have beaten on revenue. You want to know when the last time that happened was? 2001. So you are just seeing incredible strength across the board. All these worries about tariffs, at least up to this point, they're generally, there are limited exceptions, but generally speaking, they are not hurting the earnings picture, and that's what the markets are reflecting.
The Dow Jones Industrial Average higher by 0.3%, the S&P 500 up by 0.2%, and the Nasdaq higher by 0.8%. Over in Europe, markets closed mixed. The UK's FTSE 100 higher by 0.4%, Germany's DAX lower by 0.1%, and France's CAC 40 lower by 0.3%. The Philippine Peso slid to a record low against the greenback of 59.13 on Tuesday, breaking the previous 59 mark set in December 2024. The Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas says that it will let market forces determine the peso's value, even as traders exchanged $1.75 billion for the day. The central bank attributed the currency's drop to concerns over slower economic growth and expectations of further monetary easing. Monetary Board member Benjamin Diokno earlier hinted at possible rate cuts in December and in 2026 after the BSP reduced rates by 175 basis points since August of 2024. The BSP says that the peso remains supported by remittances, tourism, BPO inflows, and by strong foreign reserves. Now, as that peso has now breached the 59 per dollar mark, its weakest level on record, investors are reacting to slower growth expectations, corruption allegations hitting market sentiment, and signals of further monetary easing. The Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas says that it will let the market forces drive the currency, intervening only to smooth volatility and dampen inflationary pressures, not to defend a specific level. This slide comes even as holiday remittances typically support the peso, raising questions about how deep the pressure really is. Joining us now via Zoom is RCBC's Chief Economist, Michael Rickleford. Hi, Mike. Thank you for joining us.
Good morning, Mikey, and to our viewers. Nice to be back.
Mike, the peso usually strengthens during this time of the year. It's remittance season with the holidays approaching, yet it's fallen to a record low, even amid solid fundamentals. Is this a reflection of just how much market sentiment has been damaged by all the corruption controversies and by the political uncertainty that comes with it?
Yeah, that's number one, Mikey. The political noise since last month, most especially. That's the main factor that led to the dollar peso to break above 59. Although today it's relatively stable, around 59.14 after reaching an intraday high a few minutes ago at 59.26. Yesterday it was 59.14. So 59.13 rather. Now at 59.14. So it's still relatively stable. We have to take note that 59 has been respected for more than 3 years. The last time we saw 59.00 was December 19, 2024, before Christmas last year. And, you know, that was, back then, it was a Trump factor. Now, it ended the year at, in 2024, at 57.845. So that's the peso strengthened by more than a peso because of the remittances
Yeah.
during the Christmas season back then. So
Mike, given everything that's going on, the corruption allegations, the cuts in government spending, and the BSP's dovish stance, is the momentum there for the peso perhaps to reach the 60 to the dollar level over the near to medium term?
it won't be that easy, Mikey, because the local monetary authorities, they have a good track record in stabilizing the peso. As mentioned, 59.00 has been respected for more than 3 years in September of 2022. Prior to that, for 18 long years, from 2004 to 2022, around August of 2022, it was capped at 56.50. So there's the track record. That's one. Second, the gross international reserves are relatively high at 109 billion. That's equivalent to more than 7 months worth of imports. And that's double compared to the international threshold of 3 to 4 months. So there's more than enough buffer, cushion, and ammunition to stabilize the dollar peso because the policy priority since the latter part of 2022 is to stabilize or to better manage inflation, and that would require a relatively stable peso because the Philippines is a net importing country. It imports, the trade deficit last year, meaning the excess of goods imports versus goods exports, it's 54 billion. That's the net imports or the trade deficit.
Mike, I just want to come in there. If the peso stays around these levels, what's the likely impact on inflation, consumer prices, and the outlook for the rest of the year?
Well, there could be some pick up in importation costs, but it's relatively manageable, as I mentioned. Some pick up in importation costs. Usually, of course, we import a lot of goods like oil. The country imports almost all of its oil requirements, equipment, vehicles, and many other consumer goods. So there could be some slight pickup in the import prices and some pickup in overall inflation, and that could be passed. That's the reality. And of course, the debt of the government, some of them in US dollars. So come debt servicing, both interest and especially principal. If there's a need to pay already those dollar-denominated loans as they come due, so the peg now is at more than 59. So it would be more expensive already to service those debt using pesos because the primary source of revenues is taxes collected in pesos. So
that's right. Yeah, the sustained peso depreciation, that's going to strain public sector finances, and that's going to hurt the balance sheets of companies. Apart from the importation costs, it's going to increase importation costs. I want to ask you about this in the context of monetary policy, Mike. The BSP has cut policy rates by a total of 175 basis points since August of 2024. The key rate is now down at 4.75% as of the last October meeting. The December meeting is in the offing. The expectations are for another 25 bips cut. How much has these expectations for more easing hurt the local currency?
Yeah, partly, Mikey, in recent months, because the interest differential now within the Fed rate is doing at 4.25 at the upper range. The BSP policy rate is at 4.75. So it's at the narrowest ever. Yes, it may have partly contributed the narrower interest differential because the advantage of the peso in terms of higher interest rate has been reduced in recent months and years. So that's one of the contributory factors, yes, but maybe to a lesser extent. But going forward, the tact would be, the Fed in a few hours is expected to cut rates by 0.25. So it will be down to 4%. So the differential is back to 75 basis points. And another Fed rate cut is expected come December 10 of this year. So it would be down to 3.75. So, the BSP is expected to match those and maintain the healthy interest rate differential, currently at the record low of 50 basis points. But going forward, it would neutralize itself. It's more of the same already. Everything has been priced in as far as the narrow interest differential is concerned. So going forward, it's really what would really improve sentiment, because our economic fundamentals are still
intact,
relatively attractive. Yeah, we're still among the fastest growing economy. The corporate sales and earnings still post, well, the biggest companies, the biggest conglomerates, they still have sales growth, income growth, and that would fundamentally support higher valuation. But look at the PSEI, it has been stuck at 5,900 levels because the missing, well, amid record high US stock markets, record high stock markets also in Japan, in Europe, the rest of Asia. So the disconnect now is large, disconnect between the favorable fundamentals of the country and the performance of the markets. It's because of the political noise. So governance now is very important, because global investors and regulators, they've been encouraging the adherence to ESG standards, because adherence to ESG standards
Mike,
leads to business.
Mike, thank you so much. That's all the time we have for this, but really appreciate your thoughts. Mike Rickerford, Chief Economist of RCBC Bank.
Thank you so much, Mike, and your viewers. Good morning.
Now we're taking a quick break. Please stay with us as we dive deep into the numbers and the narratives that matter most to your bottom line. Welcome back. Let's check on how Asian markets are doing this Wednesday morning. Right now, let's take a look at the Nikkei 225. It's sharply in the green, up by a little over 2%. Hong Kong's Hang Seng Index going the other way, lower by 0.3%. Shanghai's Composite flat with a downward bias, and Singapore's Straits Times Index lower by 0.3%. Here at home, the Philippine Stock Exchange snapped out of a two-day losing streak Tuesday as bargain hunters stepped in despite the peso's slide to a record low. The PSE Index rose 0.3% to close at 59.53. Gains were led by financials and services, while mining and oil tumbled more than 4% amid weaker gold prices. Trading volume reached 4.6 billion pesos, with 95 advancers and 94 decliners. Investors remain cautious ahead of U.S. earnings reports and the Fed's next policy move. Over the near term, analysts see the market moving sideways to slightly positive, with support from lower valuations and expectations of softer inflation. But sentiment may stay guarded as the peso weakens and as global uncertainties continue to weigh on risk appetite. Taking a look at the main gauge this morning, as of 10:13, the PSE Index is trading to the upside, higher by 0.6% to 59.86. The broader all shares index in the green as well, up by 0.5% to 36.07. Taking a look at these subsectors, all are trading to the upside except for the services counter, which is limiting the market's advance, lower by 0.5% in early trade. Total volume is thin at 98 million shares, total value at 1.37 billion. Right now, market breadth is bullish with 82 advancers, just 31 decliners, and 59 stocks unchanged. So the momentum is there for the upside. Checking on the currencies market, the peso opens at 59.15 against the dollar, down from its previous close of 59.13. The geothermal sector is urging stronger government support to keep the Philippines among the world's top energy producers of clean energy. First Gen Corporation Vice President J. Joel Soriano said that the industry still lacks broad government support and was only recently included in the Green Energy Auction Program. To help reduce financial risks, the Department of Energy plans to roll out a $250 million de-risking fund for geothermal developers. The Philippines currently ranks third in the world in geothermal production, behind the United States and Indonesia, with a total installed capacity of 1,935 megawatts. Now, power bills are set to rise next month. The Energy Regulatory Commission has approved a higher feed-in tariff allowance, or FIT-all, now at 21 centavos per kilowatt hour starting this November. The ERC, or the Energy Regulatory Commission, says that the new rate will help pay renewable energy producers and settle outstanding balances in the fund. Joining us now to explain what this means for consumers, industry, and investor confidence is Pete Ilagan, the president of NASACOR, the National Association of Electricity Consumers for Reforms. Good morning and thanks for being here with us, Mr. Ilagan.
My pleasure, and thank you so much, Mikey, for inviting me to your program.
Okay,
Good
sir,
morning
you
also
can
to
you
all
can
you.
shed light on why these prices are going up. What's the main concern here, Mr. Ilagan? Is it the timing, the size of the hike, the way it's being implemented? What are your main apprehensions?
Well, I would say that any increase in our retail rates would definitely hurt every consumer. Masakit sa bulsa yan, especially on the household or residential customers. An increase of 21 centavos would definitely be hurting on the part of the residential consumers.
That's right, and it also cuts at our ability to be competitive in the region. Our power rates are among the highest, and they're only going up. So it's a big deterrent for foreign investment. Sir, for those that don't understand this fit-all, this feed-in tariff, can you give us just a brief explainer of what this is?
Itong feed-in tariff comes from the Renewable Act of 2008, kung saan nais ng bansa natin na introduce na commercially yung pag-utilize ng renewable energy. So, the government guarantees the investors of how much they would be paid for per kilowatt hour of production of energy. So, there are 4 components of these renewable energy plants. One is yung mga solar plants, ikalawa yung wind, third is biomass, and the fourth is the hydro. Each of these renewable plants have their respective rates, guaranteed rates. For example, in the first FIT, ang presyo ng solar ay nasa more than 9 pesos per kilowatt hour.
Yeah.
Nasa 8 yung wind, and then 6 yung biomass, and then 5 pesos yung hydro.
Yeah.
It's very complex and intricate actually yung computation.
Yeah.
And that's where transparency should come in for the people to appreciate the benefit that we can derive from the introduction of renewable energy.
Yeah, absolutely. Sir, the rate has been raised to 21 pesos per kilowatt hour. What are your thoughts on the size of this increase? Of course, any increase, masakit yan, di ba?
Raised to 21, galing sa 11 centavos. Alalahanin natin na itong 11 centavos was fixed and set by the Energy Regulatory Commission. Ngayon, ito ay alam natin na sabi nga ng batas, the rates must be such as to allow the recovery of just and reasonable cost and a reasonable return on their investment. So dapat dun sa 11 centavos, maipakita nila how much of the capital recovery is part of this 11 centavos. Magkano rin yung fixed and variable cost. At dito sa gagawing pagtataas ng 10 centavos, magkano mapupunta sa capital recovery? Magkano mapupunta sa fixed cost at saka sa variable cost? Hindi natin alam eh.
Given that there ang daming mga tanong, sir, do you think the fit-all, the fit-all fund is managed by, the government, the Transco, National Transmission Corporation? Given all the corruption allegations surrounding the use of public funds in the recent months, should there be an independent audit of all fit-all collections and payments to make sure that there's no funny business?
Dapat lamang, sapagkat ito ay perang imposed on electricity consumers. Public fund ito eh. Kaya dapat lamang talaga meron itong regular monitoring and audit nang malaman na, nang masiguro natin na yung disbursements of these funds ay talaga napupunta sa purpose. Hindi natin alam ilan ang eligible na renewable plants dito and how much are they getting monthly dahil alam naman natin na almost 17 to 18 billion annually ang collection dito. Yung 215 billion na yan na collection from 2015, lumalabas yan talaga, almost 20 billion a year yan.
It's a lot of money and everybody's
Yes,
paying.
so that
the whole country's paying for
every
higher
year there must be a proper reporting of this collection and how these were disbursed, allocated and paid to the eligible renewable plants. Hindi natin alam ito eh.
Sir, kung may ghost projects, may ghost supply ba kaya? What are your thoughts?
Napakagandang tanong niyan. Sapagkat if you will look at your bill, monthly bill, makikita natin we are being charged of what they call effective rate. Yan yung kabuuan per kilowatt hour, starting from the generation charge, transmission, hanggang dun sa distribution charges. So lahat yan, the first item ay yung generation. It's a combination, blending na yan ng mga energy na mula sa fossil fuel like coal, kasama na dyan yung renewable, kasama yung hydro. Yan ay binibil tayo on based on the kilowatt hours that we have consumed. Binabayaran natin yan. Separately, from this, binibil pa tayo ng 11 centavos, natataas ng 21 centavos. Ang tanong natin, meron bang metro na nagre-record kung ilan ang natanggap natin mula dito sa renewable energy na binabayaran
and sir,
ng
we've
fee?
been paying for this for nearly a decade, 10
That's
years.
right.
How long are we going to be expected to keep paying this charge? And is there a clear plan or timeline to phase it out once renewables, become self-sustaining?
Based on news reports, it will last until 2036. So lumalabas, this is a 20-year contract. Ang point natin is, kung lahat yan ay 20-year, dapat ipakita nila lahat ng investment ng eligible renewable plant. Malaman natin hanggang kailan babayaran yung capital recovery component nang malaman natin na bababa na pala ang presyo at this point of the year sapagkat mawawala na yung capital recovery component, which is a larger percentage ng ating rate. So matitiran lamang dyan is yung operational cost, yung fixed and variable cost.
Yeah.
So makakaasa tayo na bababayan. Ikalawa, dapat ma-qualify or ma-quantify na natin anong benefit ba natin.
Yeah, we need to see
For
a cost-benefit
an ordinary
analysis.
household consumer, anong benefit ko ba rito at dinadagdagan yung aking binabayaran buwan-buwan? Hindi naman tumataas ang aking buwan-buwan na sweldo. Pag tumaas ang presyo ng kuryente mo, mas masakit yan kasi nababawasan yung kita mo eh.
Tama, sir. Sir, so what's your call to action? What do you want from the ERC and the Department of Energy? It's never a good thing when electricity prices go up.
Well, unang-una, we should make accountable, one, yung Energy Regulatory Commission dahil silang nag-set ng rate na to. Ikalawa, yung National Renewable Energy Board, silang nag-suggest nito, nag-recommend, nag-propose ng rate na to sa Energy Regulatory Commission. And then yung Transco being the fund administrator, and then COA must be there to audit these funds. And then ang Department of Energy, i-monitor nila how successful is the introduction of the FIT allowance to allow the renewable energy to be a big part of our energy plan. Nang sa ganun, makatulong naman tayo sa kalinisan ng kalikasan natin. So dapat talaga i-monitor ito. These are the agencies that must be held accountable in demanding for transparency and accountability on this almost 20 billion collection from the feed-in tariff.
Sir, last question. Do you trust that they can monitor within their own industry?
Come again.
Do you trust, sir, that they can monitor within their own industry?
Well, we just have to give them the benefit of the doubt. Ang alam natin, mandato ito nila. Ipaalala natin sa kanilang mandato at pag hindi nila ginawa, alam naman nilang may consequence ito. Ang masakit dito, sinasabi natin, hindi natin alam kung magkano ang nakukonsumo natin dito sa renewable energy na binabayaran natin buwan-buwan by so much at ngayon ay magtataas, mapupunta sa 21 centavos. Kaya kung sinasabi natin merong mga ghost flood control projects, parang may nakikita rin tayo ritong ghost supply of electricity. Binabayaran natin pero hindi naman natin alam kung natatanggap ba natin yun. Walang makikita sa bill natin kung ilang kilowatt hours na renewable energy ang ating natanggap rito. So ito ang dapat ipaliwanag ng Energy Regulatory Commission, ng NREB, ng Transco, COA at Department of Energy.
Well, what we need right now is transparency across the board. Thank you so much for your time, Mr. Ilagan, the President of NASECOR.
Maraming salamat din, Maiki. Thank you.
Okay, Filipino consumers are getting some relief this holiday season as manufacturers agree to keep prices steady until the end of the year. Trade Secretary Maria Cristina Roque says that the move follows President Marcos's directive to maintain price stability during the holiday season. The DTI is also tightening market monitoring to prevent overpricing and supply disruptions. Roque said that there have been no price increases for over a year, crediting strong coordination with manufacturers and adding that holding off price hikes could help ease pressure for wage increases. Over in America, a month into the U.S. government shutdown and there's still no breakthrough in Washington. Republican and Democratic leaders remain deadlocked as essential services and federal aid programs edge closer to disruption. A coalition of Democratic-led states filed a lawsuit on Tuesday to block the Trump administration from suspending food aid benefits starting November 1st. Democrats insist that they won't vote to reopen government without action on health subsidies covering 24 million Americans. Republicans, meanwhile, say Congress must first pass a temporary spending bill to end the shutdown.
Now, they are threatening to withhold funding that the Trump administration has in a contingency fund in ways that will deprive everyday, hard-working American taxpayers.
Shifting to other news, currency pressures and U.S. policy uncertainty continue to ripple across Asia, with investors watching how regional markets react to the extended shutdown. And that's it for Business 360. I'm Maiki Oreta. Thank you for joining us, and keep it here on BNC, the Bilyonaryo news channel.